to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC. Annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
This is Mario Andretti. You know me as a race car driver, but I'm also a Meals on Wheels volunteer. I've raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Broadcasting from coast to coast,
city to city, coast to coast.
It's time for the Ryan Hickey Show on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. If it's happening in sports, it's being talked about right here. And here's your host, Ryan Hickey.
Good Monday morning. Welcome into the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. As you just heard, it is the Ryan Hickey Show. Easy for me to say with you here for the next 2 hours until 11 a.m. Eastern. Very excited and very happy you decided to start your Monday, decided to start your week with us right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. As a reminder, we're coming to you live, as we always are, from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios with its great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria in person in Medford, Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, or online wherever you are at BigItalyPizza.com. Hopefully you had a great weekend. At least where I am here in the Northeast, it was raining all weekend, so that kind of gives you a little insight into how truly great the weekend was. Hint, not that great. But there is good news, there is hope, because guess what? Look at the calendar. It says March 1st. We are getting out of the doldrums of wintertime. We are starting to exit out of the bleakness, of the grayness, of the cold, of the wind, of the snow, of the slush. And we are slowly entering into spring. And man, honestly, as we sit here on a Monday, still chilly, still raining here, at least where I am on a Monday, it feels good. You're starting to feel alive again. Because man, once that sunshine starts coming out, once we rotate the clocks back here in a few more weeks, the sun is out longer, it's going to feel good to be alive. It is going to feel good to be alive. So I am very excited about that. Hopefully, at least you are excited about that as too. As March enters, March Madness is around the corner. Spring training baseball started yesterday. Hopefully, we're going to take those good vibes and push them forward here as we start to get out of the winter time, the dreariness that is winter, and move into spring. So I am fired up here, normally more than I would be on a Monday. And we have a lot to get into here on a Monday. Jam-packed show. Hopefully it's engaging and exciting for you here for the next 2 hours. A lot of Russell Wilson and Seattle Seahawks talk. Thursday, the news broke, a rare case where news broke actually when we are live on the air, and that is that Russell Wilson and his camp broached the Seahawks about a trade. As we know, about 2 weeks ago, Russell Wilson first voiced his frustration for the first time really in his career, right? That was the first time we ever heard him speak out about anything that wasn't team-oriented, that really showed his dissatisfaction with what's going on. That's the first time we ever heard him say anything negative about a team, teammates, etc. He complained about the offensive line not being up to snuff, up to par. And obviously, you can kind of read through that and say he is not getting what he wants. He's not being heard throughout the organization. And the Athletic did an incredibly great deep dive. There are 3 writers there of basically just giving us a timeline and giving us events that we can actually look at to see why Russell Wilson is actually frustrated with Pete Carroll and the organization, not just the offensive line. So we get into the fallout of that. Is Pete Carroll getting too much of a pass? When you look at the power structure in Seattle, it's not like a lot of teams. Pete Carroll has a lot of power. And so far, we haven't really given him maybe a lot of criticism that he deserves. But when you read this article and you kind of see the philosophy of Pete Carroll, I think he is deserving of criticism. We'll tell you that in about 15 minutes or so. One trade, I don't think the Seahawks should trade Russell Wilson at all. One trade that potentially could be out there, because if you remember, he listed 4 teams he would like to get traded to, because Russell Wilson has a no-trade contract, or no-trade clause, I should say. The Saints, Cowboys, Bears, Raiders are the 4 teams that he would approve a trade to. One of those teams could offer a significant package back to Seattle. Should they consider it? Could that be the one trade the Seahawks actually should do? We'll discuss that at 9:40. Top of the second hour. Speaking of quarterbacks and whether they will be there next year or not, a major question that we didn't really think was going to be a question right now is starting to come out of New Orleans. Will Drew Brees actually return? Is there a legitimate possibility that Drew Brees next season could be the quarterback in Seattle? We'll discuss that. I mean, quarterback in New Orleans, excuse me, because he was supposed to announce his retirement. And here we are on March 1st. No word about it. Not to mention, no word about it. He's been seeing working out. We'll tell you what that video was like and why that raises some questions about maybe he could be returning. And the Brooklyn Nets. It's time to give them some respect. It's time to give them some credit. As you heard on the show multiple times, I am a big doubter, not a hater, doubter, when it comes to the Nets and their success of their big 3. So far, I'll tip my hat and give them credit because they have impressed more than ever. I'll explain what that reason why 10-20. But I do want to start, like I said, a lot of Seahawks reaction to get into here in the first hour. And I do want to kind of discuss what would happen if the Seahawks were to trade Russell Wilson. Because in my mind, if that trade was to go down, if Seattle makes the arguably worst decision you can ever make as a team and say, we're going to trade Russell Wilson, we're going to trade him for whatever, X, Y, and Z to this is the team. In my mind, they would become the most dysfunctional team in the NFL. They would surpass the Texans, who, boy, I mean, we could do shows upon shows upon shows about their dysfunctionality going on there and how they've driven Deshaun Watson out of town themselves, single-handedly. But if Seattle lets this conflict between Russ and Pete get too drastic, where the bridges get burned and there is no saving the relationship, and they end up trading Russell Wilson, they would become the most dysfunctional organization in the NFL, and here's why. I'll go back to the famous saying, fool me once, shame on you, right? Fool me twice, shame on me. Or as George W. Bush would say, fool me once, strike one, fool me twice, you can't get fooled again. Either one in this situation works. And that's because there's already been a blueprint out there. And 2 reasons why the Seahawks should have learned from what the Texans are doing and made sure that is not happening to them. And instead, if they go down the same road now Houston has gone on, where they have dug themselves a hole too deep and can't get out of, to where their franchise quarterback, top 3 quarterback in the NFL, decides to want out, demands a trade, requests a trade, and once that request has been made and made public, there's really no coming back for it, aka ask right now Houston. They would be the most dysfunctional organization in the NFL because the Texans, just a few weeks ago, showed you what not to do. They said, hey, Here's the playbook. Here's the blueprint for how not to treat your star quarterback. And if you want to get them out of town, here's what you should do. Ignore their input. Do the opposite of what they want. Cater the offense, cater the personnel to their opposite desires. Because right now, that is what Seattle has done. The more you read about what is going on and the friction that is in Seattle between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. And right now, the Texans outlined it perfectly how to do it step by step, where they took it from 0, which is when the season ended, and they were going to start their head coaching and general manager search. Deshaun Watson was very happy in Houston, was excited for the new direction. And the Texans took it from 0 to 100, what is it, 6 weeks later, to where we're sitting here on March 1st, already weeks on end. The foregone conclusion is that Deshaun Watson will be playing for another team in 2021. All because of the way the Texans handled their own situation. And now Seattle is following that same exact blueprint. Fool me once. Shame on you, right? The Texans fell for it. They fooled themselves, I should say. But there's no other excuse now for how NFL teams should fall into the same trap, because they saw how it happens and how quickly, just like that, a franchise guy can get so disenamored with the franchise that he wants out. And guess what? The Seahawks saw this, said, you know what? Russ, be quiet over there, Russ. You'll be fine. And now shame on the Seahawks, because they knew what could happen. They played with fire. And right now, at least, that fire is starting to build. And it's starting to burn to the point where, we're not there yet, we could get to the point where Russell Wilson wants out and he's on a new team in 2021. So 2 reasons why this would be a total disaster for the Seahawks if they trade Russ, and why they'd be the most dysfunctional team in the NFL, outside of just basically falling in the same hole that the Houston Texans did, despite the fact that there's warning signs all over the place. So number 1, if they do end up trading Russ, that would mean that who wins out in the end? Pete Carroll. Because right now, this is a Pete Carroll versus Russell Wilson conflict. Pete Carroll wants to run the offense one way. Russell Wilson wants to run the offense the other way. Right now, Pete Carroll, obviously, he's the head coach. He has the most say. He has the most power. And he's trying to flex his power over Russell Wilson. So the Seahawks, mainly John Schneider pulling the deal, but he'd be siding with Pete Carroll. That would mean they favor Pete Carroll's style of play, his philosophy, his impact on the team more than Russell Wilson. And that is just flat out wrong for multiple reasons. There's literally no rationale, no reason, no excuse to side with Pete Carroll over Russell Wilson when it comes to these two battling heads right now. And if you have to pick a side, picking Pete's side. Let's think about it. This Athletic article detailed greatly really the root of the issue when it comes to the divide right now, when it comes to the conflict, when it comes to the friction. The philosophy of the offense. Right now, Pete Carroll is stuck in the 20th century when it comes to offense. He's stuck in the 2010s, if you will. He is stuck back in the old Legion of Boom days for how he thinks games should be won. Because right now, his ideal team building philosophy is this: run the ball, play great defense, not good defense, play great defense, and don't turn it over. That's how they won. Obviously, they won Super Bowl. That's how they got to back-to-back Super Bowls in 2013, 2014. Well, that was 7-8 years ago. Now, as you sit here in 2021, how do you win now in today's NFL? Well, you win by letting Russ cook. You throw the ball on first down. You open up the offense. You be aggressive. It's a pass-first league. But here's Pete Carroll still wanting to run the ball first. Let's look at the numbers and bear this out, right? Because the game really, the point in the season that really kind of chafed both sides and really kind of caused a divide here was right in the midway point of the season. First 7 games of the year, as we remember, Russell Wilson was cooking. He was unbelievable. He was unstoppable. 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The Seahawks themselves averaged 34.2 points per game. Started off to a 6-1 start. Remember, if the discussion was all about Russell Wilson and his MVP chase, his MVP run. Remember how everyone's, how has Russell Wilson never in his career gotten an MVP vote before? All basically through halfway through the year, he seemed to be the MVP. Well, then what happened? They went through a 2-game stretch against the Bills and against the Rams, where they turned the ball over 7 times. Russ played poorly, 4 interceptions, 3 fumbles, both losses. It was tough to watch. Well, that was a turning point because leading into the game, a Thursday night game against the Cardinals, Pete Carroll started panicking. He wanted to get control of the offense again. He wanted to be more conservative. He wanted to run the ball. He wanted to rely on a defense, a horrendous defense, mind you. We'll get to that a little bit later. But he wanted to rely on his defense and basically rein Russ in. And guess who won out? The head coach won out. And what happened in the end? The last 7 games of the year, Russell Wilson went from 26 touchdown passes the first 7 games to just 12 touchdown passes the last 7 games. Now, he cut his interceptions in half from 6 to 3, but also in doing that, in the conservative nature of the offense, sure, the turnovers are cut down, but also the points per game are cut down. They went from 34.2 points per game in the first 7 games to the final 7 games, 22.7. And as we know, even though they're winning games, they limped into the playoffs and end up losing at home to the dynamic quarterback combo of John Wolford and Jared Goff, despite the fact that Jared Goff had surgery on a thumb 2 weeks before and couldn't be any more disliked by Sean McVay and distrusted. But yet, they're still going to Seattle and win. So I'll ask you, what style is more conducive to winning? Is it letting Russ cook, where he's throwing 26 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, and the Seahawks are averaging over 30 points per game? Or is it the conservative nature, the 2013 Seattle offense, where they are running the ball, where they are basically playing not to lose, where they are saying, just don't turn the ball over, we'll win the game with defense eventually, where they only scored 22.7 points per game, were nowhere near as lethal, nowhere near as dangerous, and again, as we know, despite winning the division and going 12-4, they were paper tigers in the playoffs. Yeah, I think we all agree. The aggressive offense, letting Russ cook, is the way to win games. Now think about it. Today's NFL, you get rewarded for aggression. You get rewarded for going for the win instead of playing not to lose. And right now, Pete Carroll wants to go back to playing not to lose because he still thinks in his mind maybe he has the Legion of Boom defense. That worked back then, but it's a new NFL now. So the first reason why it would be just a total disaster, an absolute nightmare, if you traded Russell Wilson, meaning you would side with Pete Carroll, is that you are going to go back to an offense right now that is outdated, that is essentially a dinosaur. Running the ball, playing it safe, and not turning the ball over. And this is not like the 49ers team or the Ravens team, because those teams run the ball first and still have a lot of success. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about an average at best running game with a pretty bad offensive line, with an even worse defense. This isn't the 49ers team that went to the Super Bowl in 2019. This isn't the Ravens offense of 2019 where Lamar Jackson won the MVP. They went 14-2. This is a pedestrian at best offense without Russell Wilson. Probably even borderline under that, below average. So yeah, you want to side with Pete over Russ with that? Be my guest. You will have nowhere near the success going forward that you did right now. Not to mention, number 2, if they do end up trading Russell Wilson for some godforsaken reason, what trade offer is coming back where you can match the value that Russell Wilson gives this team? Because that's why you make the trade, right? Eventually, you hope that all the draft picks that you collect, all those assets that you get, can eventually add up together to surpass the hole that is right now Russell Wilson and what he brings to this team. Because right now, he's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL. You trade him right now, you are trading a top 3 quarterback in the league, something we've never seen before. And it's far, far, far from a guarantee you can even come anywhere close to replicating that success in his production. And think of it, look how hard it is to find a quarterback. If it was easy, if you even had 1 million draft picks in a row to try to get one right, still no guarantee you can get one right. I keep going back to this tweet from Field Yates, and I think it really hits home and drives on the point. From 2009 to 2016, there were 22 quarterbacks taken in the first round. 2009 to 2016, 22 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Zero are on the current team that drafted them. So sure, you can get 5 first-round picks in a row. You can draft 5 quarterbacks in a row. You're Seattle. No guarantee. Not even arguably likely you can land anyone with a talent level anywhere close to what Russ has given you so far throughout his 9 years in Seattle. So what value are you going to get back that's eventually going to surpass what you have right now with the top 3 quarterback in the NFL? You're not going to do it. So you had your chance to learn from the Texans. They showed you what not to do when it comes to handling quarterbacks, when it comes to trying to make the offense quarterback friendly, when it comes to trying to give the most important player in your franchise some say in what happens in personnel and schemes. And instead, what did the Seahawks do so far? They went right down the same path the Texans did. As we know, you keep going down that path too far, you end up where Houston is right now, where their quarterback demands a trade, not even speaking to the organization except to say, I'm not playing for you in 2021. So thankfully for Seattle, there's still time. This is not over. He hasn't demanded a trade. Russell Wilson has made it known that he still wants to play in Seattle and try to make it work. So the ball's in Seattle's court. It's in Pete Carroll's court specifically. No excuse to not mend fences. No excuse to not hear out your quarterback going forward. It could be a real shame. And the only ones to blame are themselves if this trade ends up going down. If this relationship gets so contentious they can't figure it out, only the Seahawks have themselves to blame. So I'm curious your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Or you could tweet the show directly at Ryan Hickey Show. Should the Seahawks trade Russell Wilson? Is there any benefit trading a top 3 quarterback in the NFL to get 5 picks back, 4 picks back, maybe another quarterback back? Would it make any sense for them to do it? And if they do trade him, would they surpass the Texans as the most dysfunctional team in the NFL? My answer to that is 100% yes. 12-4 team. They won the division. They made the playoffs last year. As you know, when you look at Houston, total opposite 4-12, just a total dumpster fire. But at least the Texans did something we've never seen before. So there's no excuse for a team to repeat it. But here we are, watching Seattle in front of our eyes repeat the same mistakes the Texans did. So again, I'm curious your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, can comment right there on the live stream. Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or on Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show. So get your thoughts, and when we come back, have we collectively, including myself here, because I am very guilty of this as well, have we given Pete Carroll too much of a pass? I'll explain what I mean by and why the answer is yes. Next, it is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Hi, I'd like to report a bear hug.
Uh-huh, okay.
Well, we were building a bonfire, and I saw some, dry brush and leaves around, so, I said to move the bonfire somewhere else, and out of nowhere, Smokey Bear shows up and hugs me.
So you noticed some wildfire hazards and moved your bonfire to a safer location.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Smokey, all right. He likes it when people help prevent wildfires. It hits him close to home. Not everybody gets the hug, my friend. So that's pretty special to get a hug from Smokey Bear.
So it was him. Hey, guys, I told you it was Smokey.
Okay, well, congratulations, my friend. And thanks for calling. There are many ways to prevent a wildfire. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
Hope you enjoyed your meal. And I just want to say, he's lucky to have a brother like you.
Lucky? Caring for my brother is far from easy. Waking up every day, lifting him from the bed to the wheelchair to the car to get him to therapy on time, it's no small task between the doctors and the diagnosis, but nothing can disable this love. This is my big brother, my hero. He's part of me, like my arms and legs, so I'll be his. See, there's no time for tired. This starts again tomorrow. He'll be waiting for me. I wake up for him. I know he needs me, but I'm the lucky one, even though I need help now and then.
If you're caring for a loved one, visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community, or call 877-333-5885. Caregiving Resource Center. Support for your strength. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
People been saying to your friend, get a different face, and posting on their feed, they're super ugly. The things they say to them online are cruel and they're not true. So tell your friend, I'll stand up for you. Don't worry, I know what to do. Oh. to stop the bullies.
Know someone who's being bullied online? Send the witness emoji. It looks like an eye in a speech bubble, and it's in the symbol section near the clocks in your phone. You'll let the world know it isn't cool, and you'll let your friend know you care. Learn more about the witness emoji at eyewitnessbullying.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It may be hard to believe, but people just like you are already saving money. FeedThePig.org makes it easy. Their simple savings plan teaches you how to start saving without going overboard. So you don't need to mooch off your friends.
You gonna finish that grape?
You mean the one in my mouth?
You don't need to stop buying the necessities.
What you're smelling is a natural musk.
Ew.
You don't need to be a medical test subject.
How do you feel?
Mostly okay. Sometimes, though.
You don't need to get a second job as a stuntman.
We need a new stuntman. Let's break for lunch.
You just need an internet connection. Don't get left behind. Start your personal savings plan with the tips and tools on feedthepig.org. That way, you don't need to sell your soul to the devil.
$15 is the best I can do.
All right, deal. Brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
When is the best time to talk to your family about staying in touch during a disaster? When floodwaters reach your door? When wildfires are engulfing the edge of your neighborhood? Or an earthquake is destroying buildings? When a tornado is tearing through town? Or a hurricane strikes? Or is the best time perhaps today? During a disaster, you may not be able to stay in touch with your family or friends as easily as you think. And it's not always as simple as using your cell phone. That's why now is the time to take action. Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait. Communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Welcome back into the Ryan Hickey Show right here with you on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. More fallout coming out of Seattle. And man, if this ends to the point where we hear a trade demand and Russell Wilson is playing his ball elsewhere in Chicago, Dallas, New Orleans, Las Vegas, what a disaster it would be. The Seahawks, in my mind, despite going 12-4, right? Ton of sustained success out there in Seattle since Pete Carroll took over. Won the division, a very competitive division. Arguably, I'd say easily the best division in the NFL this year in the NFC West. 12-4 home playoff game. Out early, as we know, losing to the Rams. And now you hear more and more starting to trickle out of Seattle of a contentious relationship between the quarterback and the head coach. We've seen the same thing, although it was more about the quarterback and the organization. Even more, really, the quarterback and the owner in Seattle. In Houston. And how that has gone downhill so quickly. Are we going down that same road now in Seattle? Well, the Seahawks better hope not. There's still plenty of time to fix this mess in order to mend fences. And more importantly, listen to the direction of the quarterback going forward, because he has the right idea of how to win in 2020, where their head coach, unfortunately, is still stuck in the 2000s. Not realizing, not recognizing, or not being willing to change his stripes. So take your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Or also on Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show if you want to tweet me directly. So that kind of begs the question now, as we look kind of why, at least we started the show explaining why. No way, no shot in hell. Seahawks should be catering to their head coach over their quarterback. Let's look at the head coach. Let's look at what has happened in Seattle. I think we've collectively, including myself, yours truly here, given Pete Carroll a pass. And if there's one main reason for it, I'll explain to this. What has, in your mind, allowed companies to have sustained success, right? 10 years, 20 years. What allows longevity here in really any business you go to? Innovation, right? Look at Apple. Look at the iPhone. Look at where we came from, iPhone 1 and the Mac, to where we are now. Constantly upgrading, constantly innovating, constantly putting in new features and trying to make it as user-friendly as possible to keep customers coming back. You see it in any walk of life, any business. Always got to innovate the way you try to keep your product the top of the market. Even sports. Look at a team like Duke, for example, in college basketball. Coach K, for the longest time, right, he had Duke kind of players that would stay 3 years, that would stay 4 years, that would be team guys. But now you look at the way the landscape of college basketball is changing. The one and done is really taken over. And what has Coach K done? He has changed his philosophy. He has changed his model to now he is getting players like Zion Williamson that are there for a year and then leaving. He's getting these top recruits and getting them to Duke for a year or two, not having anyone on the roster for more than 2 or 3 years, and they are still winning, still having a lot of success, in part because he changed his stripes. He knew what won back in the day, right? What led him to all the success that he had previously, but he saw the way the landscape of college basketball is changing. He changed his stripes and adapted his style to to fit the style of winning that was today's college basketball. Innovation. That's how you are able to have longevity in a particular field, in a career. That allows for sustained success. Well, when we look at what's going on with the Seahawks, when we look at what's going on specifically with Pete Carroll and his idea of what wins games, I think we've all given him a pass for too long because he's really been reluctant to change with the times. We just talked about it before, and we'll bring it up again in case you just missed it. How do you win games now in 2020? What is the formula to winning games? Well, mostly right now, it's an offensive league, right? So passing the ball, opening it up, being aggressive, and really having your quarterback make plays is how you win a lot of games in 2020. For the Chiefs, look at how they've really elevated Patrick Mahomes. Look how they've opened it up for him, been aggressive, and really kind of catered everything to his strengths. Even the 49ers, for example, while the 49ers and the Ravens, per se, still try to run the ball, they catered their strengths, or they catered their style of play to the strengths of their players. Great offensive line, great scheme designer and Kyle Shanahan out there in San Francisco. Obviously, you have a tremendous athlete, dynamic quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Both San Francisco and Baltimore catered their offense to the style of quarterback and to the style that worked best for them. That's how you try to win games now. That's how you win games in 2020. Being aggressive, sure, in different ways, but catering the team to your strengths, what you do best, and really maximizing those strengths. Well, how does Pete Carroll want to win games in 2020? Because his style hasn't changed from when they first arrived in 2011, when he first took over in Seattle. His philosophy is still to this day running the ball, playing great defense, not turning it over on offense, right? Essentially being conservative on offense, keeping the game muddy, keeping it ugly, and try to win games that way. And he had plenty of success, right? I mean, there's no doubting what Pete Carroll did. 2 Super Bowls, 1 Super Bowl victory, 2 Super Bowl appearances. When the Legion of Boom was there from 2012 to 2015, they're the #1 defense in the NFL for 4 straight seasons. So back then, back in the heyday of Seattle, when they had the Legion of Boom, when they had Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman and Bobby Wagner and a ton of other, talented players all throughout the roster, especially on the defensive side, running the ball, playing great defense, and essentially having the offense say, don't lose us the game. Sure, you can score points, don't be shy. But don't be throwing 3 turnovers. Don't be throwing 3 interceptions or fumbling the ball or putting our defense in bad situations, short fields to where other teams could score. Conservative offense playing great defense led Seattle to their back-to-back Super Bowl appearances and their lone Super Bowl victory. Well, the only issue is that now in 2020, not only is that style not win you games, it's especially harmful to this team when the strengths, or at least the way Pete Carroll wants to win games, is their weaknesses of the team, not their strengths. And think about it, he wants to play great defense, right? That's his goal. We're going to win games on the defensive side of the ball. Hard to win games when your defense stinks. Last year, the Seattle pass defense was 31st in passing yards allowed per game, 285. Only the Atlanta Falcons allowed more passing yards in 2021. Their secondary was god-awful. They brought Jamal Adams in. He's great, great run defender. terrible coverage safety for sure. And they got torched. So in a league that is emphasizing passing the ball, where it's a pass-first league, the Seahawks could not stop the pass at all. That being second to last in passing yards allowed meant they were that led them to being 22nd in total yards allowed, and they allowed 23.2 points per game on defense. Tell me, please, I would love to hear how the second worst pass defense in the NFL can be relied upon to win you games. When you're going to tell a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, hey, don't lose this game, right? Be conservative. We're going to try to run the ball here. Don't throw interceptions. We're going to rely on our second worst secondary. That's how we're going to win games. We're going to rely on our defense that's 22nd in yards allowed per game. We're going to rely on them to win us games. So that style is not conducive to winning. It's not conducive to winning even if things are going well, because you can even kind of see what happened with the Rams this year. Tremendous defense, number 1 defense in the NFL, a very solid, very efficient running game, top 5 running game in the NFL. They didn't have a quarterback, and yes, they beat the Seahawks, won the game, but they didn't have a chance against the Packers. You can win games, you can make the playoffs, but if you want to win a Super Bowl, playing great defense and running the ball does not get you there. So not only is Pete Carroll's style stuck in the 2000s, he hasn't innovated, he hasn't upgraded his philosophy to fit what the team does best. He's also driving his best hope of winning, that is Russell Wilson, out the door. Because you read the article, if you see, the biggest points of contention between the quarterback and the head coach, Russ's biggest gripe with the team, specifically with Pete Carroll, is the lack of aggression on offense. And you said, Pete Carroll wants to be conservative. He wants to run the ball. He wants time possession. He wants to win with the defense and not turn it over. His 2 goals, running the ball and not turning it over, to him, doesn't matter how many points you scored. You can at least don't be the reason why they lose. That is good enough. The philosophy, the style for him is let's not lose the game. Don't be the reason why you lose. Instead of, hey, go be the reason why we win the game. Go be the aggressors. Let's go take this game instead of playing not to lose. Instead of playing to win, he's playing not to lose. Well, on the other side, again, Russell Wilson wants to open it up. Pass the ball more early on. Be aggressive. Take more deep shots. And what happened? The first 7 games, what did we see? That was happening and happening with a ton of success. 6-1, 34.2 points per game, 28 touchdowns in just 7 games for us, 6 interceptions. And not only has he made it known he wants to be more aggressive, he even has the perfect example in his mind of what the offense should look like, the Kansas City Chiefs. Multiple occasions. He's mentioned the Chiefs as a team that, blueprint-wise, what he wants the offense to look like, aggression-wise, what he wants the offense to look like, scheme and philosophy-wise, what he wants the offense to look like. It is a wide-open offense that caters to the strengths of their team, that is the quarterback. Right? When you have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, you cater your offense, you cater your team to doing whatever it takes to make sure that guy's winning your games, not losing your games. So he recognizes, the quarterback realizes where the game already headed, right? It's not heading there. This is not a shift that's taking over the NFL right now. It's already happened. Aggression, throwing the ball first is how you win games in 2020. We've seen it already happen in the last few years. The throwing revolution, if you will, really enter the NFL and be prominent. But now you have a head coach that doesn't either want to embrace that philosophy, doesn't think that that's a philosophy to win despite the fact that teams are winning with that strategy, or it's too much pride and ego to cater to the quarterback to change his stripes because he doesn't like change. He's afraid of change. That's why I said it before. If the Seahawks trade Russell Wilson, it would lead them to be the most dysfunctional team in the NFL. Because now you are saying in your mind, Pete Carroll, his philosophy of team building, his philosophy of winning, his offensive strategy and philosophy, that's the way we want to go. That's the direction we want to head moving forward. That conservative offensive philosophy would now be more prominent with the Seahawks going forward. And guess what that would do? It would be the reason why they lose more games. If you didn't have Russell Wilson, I'll ask you this. I'll put it this way. Everything stays the same. You take Russell Wilson out. Let's say you put in the 15th best quarterback in the NFL. Maybe last year that's Phillip Rivers, Jared Goff, Jimmy G. Put in, your decent quarterback. Is this what are the Seahawks then? Where are they going? Because I don't think they're going anywhere near the playoffs. If you take Russell Wilson out and drop in an average, maybe even above average quarterback, if you want to get crazy, that style doesn't help anybody. If anything, Russ is having success going against the grain of how this offense is supposed to work. And to me, that is on Pete Carroll's shoulders squarely. We have all given him a pass, yours truly included. But now you hear more details about how he wants to win games. Hear more details about what his philosophy is. He hasn't innovated. He hasn't innovated. He hasn't changed with the times. He hasn't changed his model to stay competitive with how the game is changing. He is afraid to change, unwilling to change, too much pride to change. And right now, that easily could lead, the only reason why you're winning most games, lead that guy to walking out the door and asking for a trade. So he's had a tremendous amount of success in Seattle. I'm not trying to take away the 11-year run he's had and all the success. But with that said, there's a reason why since the Super Bowl, the Seahawks really haven't been a big Super Bowl threat by the time postseason comes. There's a reason why they don't win more than one playoff game in a row. They haven't even made an NFC title game since 2014. It's because that offense doesn't help anyone at all. And now when you're, basically swimming upstream, if you will, if you're Russell Wilson, just to have some sort of success, well, the playoffs then suffocate that. There's a reason why all of a sudden this offense in the second half of 2020 fell off the table and no one could really find a reason why. Because you look at the numbers, look at the stats, they're obviously the eye test says this offense looks terrible. But look at the numbers. It's not like they're running the ball more. They ran the ball a little bit more. But there wasn't a significant difference in terms of pass attempts per game, in terms of deep shots per game. It just was ugly. And now you see why. It's Russell Wilson in part trying to fight uphill, trying to swim upstream to have success despite an offensive strategy and offensive philosophy implemented by the head coach that is counterintuitive to success. So again, there's still time to repair this relationship. There's still time for the Seahawks to make sure that Russell Wilson is happy enough to where he doesn't ask for a trade and walk out the door. But this is on Pete Carroll. This would be a massive blunder, a massive failure by the head coach because he has failed to change his stripes before, and failing to change his stripes will be the downfall of his time in Seattle. It will lead Seattle going in the toilet, going in the tank, and probably expedite his retirement. He has said he doesn't want to go into a rebuild. He has said he doesn't want to stick around. He still wants to be competitive and still win. Well, guess what? That best chance of winning is with number 3, your under center, as your quarterback. So this is on Pete. We've given him too much of a pass, and now it's time to start turning the narrative, start focusing our attention, our questioning of what is going on directly to the head coach. Start for Pete Carroll to take more blame than he has in the past. I'm going to start with that today. So I'm curious your thoughts. If it comes down to it, because essentially, the more you read, now, again, it's not to the point where it's one side or the other, but we are getting to the point where the Seahawks have to decide and choose. Are we going to side with Pete Carroll and roll with him, or are we going to side with Russell Wilson and roll with the quarterback? Which side do they choose? Pete or Russ? It's not even a question in my mind. You side with Russ, you side with the player 10 times out of 10, 100 times out of 100, 1,000 times out of 1,000, 1,000,000 times out of 1,000,000. But we'll see, we'll see if the Seahawks feel the same way. So I'm curious your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports with Eric. Worldwide Sports with Eric. Type that in. Boom. There's our live stream right below. Comment right there on the live stream. Periscope, if you're watching on Periscope, you can comment right there on the live stream WWSRN_radio at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Worldwide Sports with Eric on Periscope as well. Should the Seahawks side with Russ? Should they side with Pete? Love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Twitter. Let me come back. We mentioned it before, right? When we started off the open, why there would be no reason, any excuse for the Seahawks to trade Russell Wilson. Part of the reason why was because they really can't get any sort of value back that's fair. Well, there's one trade with one team that would trade a pretty good quarterback to Seattle. It definitely would not be a rebuild if they get this one player in a trade for Russell Wilson. Would it make sense for both sides? Would it make sense for the Seahawks to trade Russell Wilson to this one team for a player that could come back, that could help them try to win in 2021 and beyond? We'll discuss who that player is and if that trade would make sense or not when the Ryan Hickey Show returns right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com, or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And welcome on back into the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, going until 11 a.m. Eastern on a rainy Monday, but the 1st of March. We are slowly making our way to spring. Weather's getting a little bit warmer. Calendar's turning. Sun's about to be out for a little bit longer. So spirits are high, even though it rained all weekend, even though it's raining here again on Monday morning. Spirits are still high because we are slowly crawling out of the abyss that is the wintertime and slowly making our way to spring. Before we get to spring, right, we got to figure out some decisions about what's going on in Seattle. Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll, can they work it out? If not, if they have to choose, Pete or Russ, which side are you going on? I'm taking Russ a million times out of a million. My guy, Clarence Nixon. Hopefully that name sounds familiar to you because he hosts the incredibly great show right here on the Worldwide Sports Network, the Sports Hit List, every Wednesday, 4 o'clock Eastern, right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. So that's why it's imperative that you should download our app, WWSRN on iOS, Worldwide Sports Network on Android. Like us on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Follow us on Twitter at WWSRN_radio. Like us on YouTube, Worldwide Sports Network. That way, anytime any of these shows, including the Sports Hit List, goes live, you will get a notification. You'll be in the loop and not miss a show with everything that's going on here at the Worldwide Sports Network. So Clarence writes on Facebook, fire Pete. That's it. Nice and simple. 2 words, fire Pete. Couldn't agree more. If it's going to get to the point where you got to choose one or the other, Seahawks have to, this is a marriage that is not going to work out. Both are going to have to file for divorce. It's untenable. Choosing one or the other, you are taking Russ 10 times out of 10 every single time. You take the player. Not only do you take the player in this situation, you're taking the player because, one, he's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL at a position, as we know, that is impossible to find. It is by far the hardest position to scout and get right and develop, as we've seen from many teams striking out time and time and time again. So you have a top 3 quarterback in his prime still, 32 years old, on your team under contract. Yeah, you're not just going to give that away. You also have a head coach that, honestly, is out of touch. You have a head coach right now that is out of touch with how the game is won in 2020. He still thinks running the ball, playing good defense, and not turning it over is how you win games, despite the fact that his defense stinks, the run game is below average, and sure, Russell Wilson turns it over, but in turning it over, he's being aggressive, and being aggressive leads to more touchdown passes. And it's almost a 2 touchdown difference between when he's allowed to be unleashed, when they're letting Russ cook, compared to not. All right, let's look at the stats. So the first 7 games when he was allowed to cook, when he was basically allowed to have free reign of the offense, be aggressive, open it up, run the type of offense he wants to run, he threw 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The Seahawks averaged 34.2 points per game. In the last 7 games, when the reins were pulled in, when Pete Carroll wanted a more conservative offense, so same amount of games, 7 and 7, he threw just 12 touchdowns, so more than half less, and the Seahawks averages 22.7 points per game. So just under 12 points per game different. First half of the year, second half of the year, aggressive, conservative. And those 2 touchdowns essentially per game. You don't think that could have helped, win a few more games? You don't think that could have helped it in the wild card game when you lose by 10 to, again, the combo of John Wolford and Jared Goff? Yeah, that aggressiveness, that pushing the ball, that trying to make a play really could have helped out Seattle here in the long term. So I'm with Clarence 100%. He writes fire Pete when it comes to either Pete Carroll or Russell Wilson. Got to choose one or the other. 10. It's the easiest question maybe I'll ever ask here on the Worldwide Sports Network. But if you disagree, or if you agree, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Again, Facebook, you can write it just like Clarence did, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSR_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show. Also on Twitter is where you can get involved in the action, get your thoughts, and we'll get your concerns, comments read on the air before we get here at 11 a.m. Eastern. So I got to tease just before the break here. There is one trade potentially that could be out there for the Seahawks to make, and maybe it wouldn't be as bad as we're saying. Because like I said, right now, at least, there's no trade request in from Russell Wilson. There's no demand. There's no get me out of here. There's no, right now, reason to believe that he won't be the quarterback in 2021 for Seattle. But if that day does come, sooner rather than later, if it comes this year, where that trade request is made, where that demand is made, and all of a sudden now Russ is seeing his bags getting packed and going elsewhere, could there be one trade out there for the Seahawks that they could make that maybe, love to hear your thoughts, would benefit them? Because remember, Russell Wilson has a no trade clause, so he can approve where he goes. The 4 teams that his agent told Adam Schefter last week that he would approve a trade to right now: the Bears, the Raiders, the Saints, the Cowboys. I say the Cowboys for last year because they are the team that I want to get into. Because like I mentioned before, I don't think there's any way the Seahawks, if they trade Russell Wilson, will get the value back, whether it's picks, whether it's players, that you will get the value back to mirror what they're losing in Russell Wilson in a top 3 quarterback. But that's why I make the trade, because you think in your mind you can get equal value, maybe even more value for a player that you're giving away. So should the Seahawks entertain a trade with the Cowboys if that includes Dak Prescott? If Dak is offered by Dallas with, let's say, 2 first-round picks or something in that nature, would that be a trade that maybe actually could benefit Seattle going forward? That wouldn't necessarily signal rebuild. That still could have allowed them to try to win now going forward, and obviously have a few extra picks to draft some young players as well. Would that work? Would that be a trade that maybe Seattle should actually ponder and think about and say, you know what? Maybe it's not as bad as it sounds. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show, also on Twitter. Because in my mind, that answer is no. That trade, if it's to be made, is still very detrimental for Seattle. Seahawks, to me, I still don't think they make a value. I still think they would be a lot worse off than they would if they kept Russ. Because let's call for what it is. I'll give Dak credit here. He has been a good, to at times, a very good quarterback in Dallas. Let's even look at last year, right? Last year, obviously, as we know, before the unfortunate ankle injury, he was on pace. Now, it was only 5 games. And as we know, Russell Wilson was on pace for some incredible numbers too in the first half of the year before he fell off the table in the second half of the year. But through 5 games before Dak got hurt, he was on pace to set some very impressive records, including almost for 6,000 yards. And he almost set the record for passing yards. He was on pace to average or to throw for 5,900 yards. So we've never seen that before. Not even Patrick Mahomes has done that. So he was on pace at least to get there, to break some records. He was on pace for an incredible 2020 season. And safe to say, heading into 2021, when you look at the landscape of the quarterbacks, if you say who are the top 10 quarterbacks heading into 2021, Dak Prescott is squarely on that list. Whether he's 7, 8, 9, 10, that's up to you. But he is squarely a top 10 quarterback now. When you look at guys like Drew Brees falling off, when you look at players like Ben Roethlisberger struggling, and there's still a lot of young, unproven quarterbacks heading, trying to gain their footing in the NFL. Dak is a top 10 quarterback heading into 2021. So, sure, you're getting a top 10 quarterback back in the deal. That sounds pretty good, right? I'm not going to turn that down. But here's the thing. There is a huge difference between top 10 quarterback in the NFL, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. Like I said, Dak was pretty good. You make the argument he was, very good to great last year before he got hurt. But here's the thing. For most of his career, he's been pretty good. Russ has been great. Again, he's a top 3 quarterback working almost opposite and trying to have to fight uphill every single play he had with the Seahawks because Pete Carroll didn't like the way the offense is being run and basically wanted to rein in his Ferrari. He had a Ferrari right there in the driveway, sitting right there. Beautiful. Let's say red, freshly waxed, right off, the lot. And instead of driving that Ferrari, instead of taking it for a spin, doing what the Ferrari does best, driving fast, open roads, cruising, right? He opted to, we're going to drive it in the city. Stop, start, making turns, wiggling in and out. He prefers the Prius. He prefers the safe car, getting to work back and forth instead of taking the Ferrari that's right there in front of him and letting it run, letting it rip on the open road. So if a great quarterback is being reined in, and they're still having success, again, almost in spite of the offensive philosophy that has been implemented by the head coach, are you really sure that Dak's going to come in there and, there'll be a drop-off, but they'll still be competitive? Because think about it. Everything has gone Dak's way in Dallas, right? The offensive line has been replenished. Tons of resources have been put into receiver and running back. And for the most part, offense has been the first and foremost thing addressed by the Cowboys each and every offseason. First thing thought about, first thing addressed. Big contracts go there. Replenishments, reinforcements always being put on the offensive side of the ball. Well, now, if you're Dak, you're going to go to a team that almost has the opposite philosophy in Seattle, where it's defense, defense, defense. The offensive line is banged up. We need an offensive line. You know what? That's okay. We got to worry about the linebackers. We got to worry about the secondary. We got to worry about interior pass rush. We got to worry about, the defensive side of the ball, because in Pete's mind, that is still the first and foremost side of the ball that's most important. So I don't think Dak is going to be the guy that can overcome an outdated offense in order to have success. Not to mention, when you look at the running game, when you look at the offensive line, in terms of personnel, in terms of success, Seattle's way worse in those categories than Dallas was. And part of the reason why Dak had so much success in Dallas was because the running game was getting going and was very good. Because the offensive line, he had time each and every time he dropped back to throw the ball, to read defenses, to extend plays. Well, as we've seen, you watch Russell Wilson drop back, it's 1-2, all of a sudden, he's scrambling around. Now, there's been plenty of times where he's had plenty of time and still taking sacks. He's back there holding the ball, trying to make a big play. But that is more the anomaly. That is more the exception, not the rule. So now you have a team that really struggles to run the ball, despite wanting to run the ball. Now it's a line that struggles to block. I don't think Dak is going to be the guy that comes in here and all of a sudden makes the Seahawks still contenders in the NFC and prohibits a rebuild. Let's also not forget, you make that trade for Dak, sure, it'll be under the franchise tag this year. It's about $37.5 million that you'll pay him. You're still going to have to then pay him as a free agent next year or try to work out an extension this year. And as we know, as we see for the Cowboys play out right in front of our eyes, Dak is not taking any sort of discount. He is getting his market value, maybe even more. And you're going to probably have to overpay if you're either the Cowboys or the Seahawks if you want to lock this guy up long-term and prevent him from getting to free agency. So in the article in The Athletic, they do cite that, part of the reason and part of the frustration for maybe the lack of the offensive line being fixed is that Russ's contract prohibited other areas of the team being addressed. Takes up 50% of the salary cap for one player is a large chunk. So now, again, you have to pay Dak even more than you're paying Russ for a lesser talent, for a guy whose success was largely built on a good run game and a great offensive line, having neither of those in Seattle. I don't see that trade working out. I don't think it's going to behoove the Seahawks at all to make that deal. So again, I'm also in the camp of no trade in my mind is worth it. Just like I don't think there's any trade out there for the Texans that is worthwhile for them to make. Although they don't have a choice. That's a little different. They dug their hole themselves and they put themselves in the situation. But at least right now, while the Seahawks still have options, while they still aren't, backed into a corner, if you will, where the only option they have is to trade him. If they do end up making that choice, or if I should say they have a choice between keeping them and trading them, nothing in my mind is out there that would make a deal worth it if you're the Seahawks. So I'm curious your thoughts. Again, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSR_radio, at Ryan Hickey Show on Twitter. Should the Seahawks do a Dak for Russ trade? Would that make sense in their mind? Would that be a good swap for both sides? You'd say, hey, you know what? Cowboys get richer with Russ. You know what? Dak going to Seattle, that's pretty good too. That's a win-win if you want to say. We get your thoughts, and when we come back, we're talking about quarterbacks. We're talking about quarterback movement. Is it possible, or could it actually happen, that Drew Brees could return in New Orleans for the 2021 season? We'll discuss the latest reason why that answer could be yes. And should the Saints want Drew Brees back? We'll discuss the next. It is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve. It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hour number 2 of the Ryan Hickey Show with you right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Coming to you live as you always are from the Big Italy Pizzeria Studios, where it's great pizza, hot heroes, and phenomenal dinners. Check out Big Italy Pizzeria in person in Medford, Joe's Pizzeria in Bayshore, online as you always mentioned, BigItalyPizza.com, or a brand new place opening up in Bayshore just off Sunrise Highway, Classic New York Pizza Joint. How new? Well, today's opening day. If you want to be one of the first in line and get a good New York slice, Classic New York Pizza Joint right there off Sunrise Highway in Bayshore. Be one of the first. It's I was there from the ground floor. So talking a lot of Seattle, talking a lot of Russell Wilson, talking a lot of Pete Carroll. Obviously, as we know, the last time we were on the air on Thursday, a story came out detailing the friction, the contention between the two. So Russell Wilson wants to open up, be more aggressive. Pete Carroll wants to be more conservative. And that has led to a divide in philosophies between the two, and that has led to Russell Wilson speaking out about the offensive line like he did 2 weeks ago. So talking a lot what should happen, which side should they go on, why the Seahawks, if they actually do end up trading Russell Wilson, be the most dysfunctional organization in the NFL. A lot to get to. So if you have any thoughts from the first hour on Seattle, what they should do, Russell Wilson, should he trade him? Where should he get traded to? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Radio Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, or also on Twitter at Ryan Hickey Show. So I do want to talk, though, because we are talking a lot of quarterbacks, so why not continue it? We'll stick in the NFC. We'll stick with a different quarterback and different questions surrounding this quarterback, because I didn't think, to be honest, we would have this topic on the show really at all. And that is the question of, will Drew Brees actually return in 2021? Thought it was all a guarantee. I really thought this time last year was all but a guarantee 2020 was his last year. A lot of signs, a lot of signals that 2020 would be it. Wrap it up on an incredible, talented career for Drew Brees. He's going to give it one more run, try to get that elusive second Super Bowl. And if he falls short like they did in the second round of the playoffs, okay, call it a career. Tried, gave it your all. What are you going to do? But now, as we're sitting here on March 1st, over the weekend, a video surfaced of Drew Brees. And not only just a normal video, it was an interesting video. I actually just tweeted out on my Twitter account at Ryan Hickey Show. At Ryan Hickey Show is where you can find the video of Drew Brees working out, and he's pushing like a workout sled, right? You see a lot of athletes, especially a lot of football players, moving a sled, weighted sled, just pushing it up a hill. Well, that was someone who wasn't working out like they're about to retire, right? I don't know about you. If it was me, and I'm about to retire, after 20 years of dedicating myself, of playing football, of dealing with all the nicks and the bruises and the bumps, and especially coming off Drew Brees, 11 rib fractures, foot issues, arm issues. Yeah, you know what I'm doing? I'm kicking my feet up. I'm on a beach somewhere, sipping maybe a margarita or a mojito and enjoying life for the first time, really in my life, now that I'm set for my life money-wise, nothing to worry about. Injuries are all behind me. All the stress of football is behind me. I'm chilling. I'm taking a break. Well, Drew Brees wasn't working out like someone who's just trying to stay in shape, who's just maybe not trying to get that dad bod or that 15, we call it the freshman 15, but being a football player, maybe, the recently retired 15, we'll call it. His trainer, Todd Durkin, posted a video of this weighted sled. And not only is Drew Brees just pushing weighted sled, because in and of itself, okay, maybe you could still do some football workouts to stay in shape. But here's the thing. He pushed this sled further than Todd Durkin is, at least in the video, said he's ever seen. For longer than he's ever seen, about 50 seconds. And one of the captions in the Instagram story videos was, quote, "Something must be brewing," end quote. A caption there, part of the Drew Brees workout video. Something must be brewing. Is that a hint? Is that a subliminal message that maybe Drew Brees actually could return next year? Because I'll be honest, I'd love to hear your thoughts. My answer to the question of could Drew Brees actually return next year, the longer the silence is out there, the longer the question is being tossed out, I think the more the answer becomes yes. Because let's look at it this time last year, right? Because last year, the question was being thrown in, and I thought he was going to come back personally, but there was a question. He took time away to consider, should he retire or come back? Well, he made the announcement on February 18th that he's coming back for 2020. And coming into this year, like I said, I think a lot of people, including myself, yours truly, thought 2020 was going to be it. Now, he signed a 2-year deal with New Orleans. So he's still under contract. But I think a lot of us rolled our eyes. We said, okay, you know what? 2-year deal, but this is a 2020 is it. Everyone you ask, insiders, I think they all agreed, heading into 2020, different parts of the season, this is going to be it for Drew Brees. Many reports, even before the playoffs started, Ian Rappaport had a report right before wildcard weekend started, saying that Drew Brees is expected to retire once the season ends. He hasn't talked to anyone, he said, that thinks or has heard that Drew Brees will want to come back for 2021. So throughout the season, during the season, towards the end of the season, right, just when the playoffs start, 2 games away from Drew Brees when the season finally ends, Ian Rappaport and many others reported that really this is it. He's going to call it a career after this, no matter how it ends. Even last April, let's go back to almost a year ago. Sean Payton was giving an interview, basically said, yeah, Drew's come back for one last year. That was before anyone, even officially in some capacities, thought that this was going to be the last year. Because Drew never said 2020 is my last year officially. But it was just speculated. It was just assumed. When you had Sean Payton accidentally say that on the record, that this will be Drew Brees' final season before he tried to walk it back, as, you got to walk it back. But now it's just sitting here on March 1st with still no answer. Again, this is a question that we didn't even think was going to be a question. It was assumed. The only question was when. All right, maybe he'll do it, a week or two after the loss to the Buccaneers. Everyone's asking about his future. He said, I'm going to take some time. I'll think about it, let you know. But again, one of those classic cliche questions that, sure, it could take some time, but we all know what the answer is going to be. Go back to Super Bowl week. Drew Brees Sean Payton was doing, promoting something. So he's on Radio Row for Super Bowl, even though it's virtually, he's still making the rounds, doing the car wash, if you will, if you want to drop a radio lingo term right there. Or he's doing just a bunch of different interviews at a bunch of different stations. And multiple times he was asked, what's the deal with Drew Brees? You haven't heard anything. Is he going to make his decision? Sean Payton, back then on February 3rd, before the Super Bowl even started, over just about a month ago, said he expected a decision to be made in the next week or two. Well, a week has gone by, 2 weeks have gone by, 3 weeks have gone by. We're entering week 4, no decision has been made. What makes it even more awkward is that also Sean Payton made it known he wants to re-sign Jameis Winston. He likes Jameis, would love to have him on the team. If they work it out cap-wise, they would love to have him back in 2021. Well, I'll tell you who's not getting signed if Drew Brees decides to return in 2020, and that's Jameis Winston. So this is what I want to ask. I set that up in a long way for asking this. Should the Saints want Drew Brees to come back? Should the Saints be rooting for Drew to try to run it back one last time here, try to get that elusive second Super Bowl, try to change the ending and kind of go out just like the way Peyton Manning went out with the Broncos back in 2015 on top? Because I'll say this. If Drew does decide to return, if he decides 2021 is going to, he had the injuries with the ribs and with the shoulder and with the foot, very banged up, heading into the final month of the season and heading to the playoffs. If he decides, I want to come back, try to be healthy, try to win a Super Bowl one last time, I think that's very bad news for the Saints. That is not something New Orleans wants to hear. Because in my mind, it's time for them to move on. This is not the Steelers where they're pressed up against the cap. Really, no matter what option you go to, they can't win a Super Bowl in my mind. This is the Saints that, sure, they're in cap hell as well, but they still have a good enough roster, still have an opportunity, if they get the right guy in there, to still be legitimate Super Bowl contenders. You can get an upgrade. You can get Jameis Winston, and I think he will be an upgrade. So the Saints have options. If they want to trade for Russell Wilson, if they want to trade for Deshaun Watson, they have options to do so. So in my mind, this is very bad news for the Saints. If this continues to drag out, there's no answer. And again, Drew Brees does eventually come out and say, hey, I want to return for 2021. Because let's look at what happened the last few years. Because I think 2021 would be a repeat of 2020, which would be a repeat of 2019, which would be a repeat of 2018, which is what? Drew Brees, solid regular season. Right? The numbers wise, before the injury, he was having a very good regular season. But then what happens? This year he was injured. Before that, he was injured earlier in the year, and he runs out of gas by the time December comes. So solid regular season, great 3/4 of the year, if you will. December comes, starts to slow down, the numbers dip, and then that dip carries into the playoffs where he plays poorly and they lose early on in the playoffs. And let's just look at the most recent playoff experiences with the Bears and the Buccaneers. It went probably as bad as you could have wished if you were a Saints fan for how Drew Brees played in the playoffs. Now again, you don't make the excuse that he wasn't 100%. He had the ribs. He had other injuries that were nagging him and taking him down. Fine. With that said, I don't see how a guy another year older is going to, still be playing his best by the time January football comes around. Because with the Bears, sure, they won the game, and that offense was very stagnant. It was a hard game to watch. Arguably, for all 6 games on Wild Card Weekend, that was easily the most boring game. Easily the most boring game of the playoffs. Bears, Saints. Because neither offense could do anything. See, New Orleans was stagnant. The Bears, Mitch Trubisky's your quarterback, so there you go. Then you follow that up next week against Buccaneers. Drew Brees goes 19-34, just 134 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He had a 38.1 passer rating. 38.1. I think if me and you were quarterback in the NFL, we could have a 38.1 passer rating. So you can't run it back if you're New Orleans in 2021, because guess what? These last few years are screaming in your face. This is what's going to happen. We already know how the season will end for the Saints in 2021 if they have Drew Brees back as their starting quarterback. Not many teams can say that. The Saints can say that. It's a known commodity. What will happen if Drew returns for 2021? So that is, it's a tough spot to be in with the guy who's given so much to the team, so much to the community, so much to that city, both on the field and off it. But you cannot allow him to return in 2021. That would be one of the worst things that could happen for the Saints. Because look, he's 42 years old, right? He'll be 42 next year. Well, he's 42 now. And he'll be like that for the regular season in 2021. He's not, let's just call it for what it is. He's not Tom Brady. Just because Tom Brady right now is going to be 44 next year, and he is playing the way he's playing. Just because Tom Brady's been able to keep his body healthy, fresh, and where he's playing his best football in December and January, doesn't mean every quarterback will be like Tom Brady. Doesn't mean every quarterback can play until they are 44, until they're 42, until they're 40. Look at Big Ben, 39 years old. His play really declined in December. He ran out of gas. Drew Brees lost 3 years. Each year, the same thing has happened. He has run out of gas, run out of steam. By the time the playoffs come, he cannot keep up his level of performance like he did in October and November. So just because we see one guy doing it doesn't mean every single quarterback can play until they're 44. Just because the rules are different to now where you can barely hit a quarterback, they barely get touched, and anytime you do, it's a penalty, doesn't mean that these guys can still stay healthy enough, stay loose enough, stay fit enough to play your best, play at your peak for 16 games plus the playoffs. So that's why you can't run it back. The Saints still have a ton of talent on their roster. And bringing back Drew Brees will just lower the ceiling dramatically to where they are not Super Bowl contenders. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be that guy. I'm sorry to rain on the parade. I'm sorry to not tear down, but just tell you how it is with Drew Brees. Great guy. Everyone loves him. Right? There's no real animosity towards Drew Brees, unless I'm sure if you're a Falcons fan. But it's time for New Orleans to move on. One way or another. If he returns, you have to have a tough conversation. Say, Drew, you're either going to be the backup or you can't have you on the team. Because it's time to see Jameis Winston take a shot. He's got to get the wheel. He's got to be able to let it spin. They got to give themselves a shot here to win in 2020 and beyond, or 2021 and beyond. Now run it back with a known commodity to where you already know how the season is going to end. Can't do it. So if I'm the Saints, you have, like I said, you have options. You're not backed into a corner. You can try to see how Jameis Winston plays. You can try to make a trade for Russell Wilson. He's on the list. Saints are on the list. Try to make a trade for Deshaun Watson. I'm sure they would be on the list, although Deshaun doesn't have technically a list. I'm sure he'd be approved. So the more this drags out, the more workout videos come about of Drew Brees, the more questions we have of, is he truly going to retire? Which at one point we thought was a guarantee. Now is becoming more and more and more. The percentages are trending towards maybe he'll return. That is bad news for the Saints. Bad news. So I'm curious your thoughts. Should Drew Brees return in 21? Should the Saints want him back if he does return? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Also on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show. At Ryan Hickey Show. There also, you can see the video I tweeted out. Last thing I tweeted out of Drew Brees working out. You tell me. Does that look like a guy who's ready to hang it up, ready to call it quits, ready to sit on a career that's has been a very successful career, one of the all-time greats to do it, Hall of Famer, first ballot, no doubt. Does that look like a guy who's about to hang it up and call it quits? Or does that look like a guy who's gearing up and maybe even preparing and trying to test his body to see if a 2021 return is possible? That would be a massive disaster for the Saints. Massive. So I'm curious your thoughts. Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Also on Twitter, at Ryan Hickey Show. We'll get your thoughts when we come back. Everyone loves when someone is wrong. I am guilty of that all the time. I see someone throw something out there, oh, no way this will be successful. And then you see it happen. And you're like, you know what, you idiot, you were wrong. I will come back and I will admit why I was wrong about the Nets, but with an asterisk. I'm not ready to fully come on the Nets bandwagon. Explain the one reason why I'm still hesitant, but I will give them credit and will tell you when I was wrong. We'll do that next. Is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Do current market conditions have you nervous? Our experienced team of financial professionals at Heritage Harbor Financial Associates understands that no two investors are alike. We all have different goals, needs, and appetites for risk. That's why the one-size-fits-all approach does not work, especially when planning for retirement. At Heritage Harbor Financial Associates, we analyze your unique investment style so that you can work toward your individual retirement goals on your terms. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates can help you take steps to reach your retirement goals by providing a wide array of financial products to fit your needs, even for the risk adverse. Give us a call at 631-331-6599 to learn more or to set up an appointment with one of our financial professionals. You can also find us on the web at hhfa.org or on Facebook at facebook.com/hhfa.org. Our number again is 631-331-6599. That's 631-331-6599. Investments in stock, bonds, and mutual funds and variable annuities are not FDIC insured and are subject to fluctuation in value and market risk, including loss of principal. Heritage Harbor Financial Associates offers securities through AXA Advisors, LLC, New York, New York. Member FINRA, SIPC, annuity and insurance products offered through AXA Network, LLC.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ed Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Some breaking news out of the NFL before we get going here. It is the Ryan Hickey Show with you until 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Ian Rappaport reporting with Kim Jones that the Washington football team is expected to part ways with quarterback Alex Smith. Remember, he won AP Comeback Player of the Year last year. Improbable that he even honestly stepped on the field. It was awesome that he was able to work back, was a third-string quarterback, then became a second-string quarterback, and then Kyle Allen gets hurt. And then, boom, here comes Alex Smith thrust into action, helped lead Washington to the playoffs. Unfortunately, he had to miss the game and miss the clincher because of an injury. Tara Heineke was the one who started the playoff game against the Buccaneers. But just an incredible, incredible story by Alex Smith over 2 years, or almost 2 years, to when he got hurt with that just horrific leg injury against the Texans back in 2018. Comes back on the field for Washington, quarterbacks their team again, plays well, again, helped them lead them to a division title, although the NFC East was the NFC East. But nonetheless, still played well enough to get them to the playoffs. But now as we head to 2021, it looks like the Washington football team will head to greener pastures as, again, Ian Rappaport and Kim Jones both reporting that they are expected to part ways with Alex Smith. He's 36 years old. Alex Smith is. Again, coming off the AP Comeback Player of the Year award. And at least according to Rappaport, he still wants to play. So teams are out there that maybe, could try to land him. But he will not be, at least in Washington. Tough to even envision that he will be able to get a starting job, to be honest. First name that comes to mind, I mean, selfishly, I'm a Colts fan, so maybe that's why this name pops in my head. But for Carson Wentz kind of being as injury-prone as he is, could be a good landing spot for Alex Smith as Indy. Go there, back up Carson Wentz. Obviously, the hope doesn't get hurt, but the track record shows a little different. Maybe that this, could be a spot for Alex Smith if he wants to get back on the field. Could be a spot for him to go. Again, I think personally tough to envision him getting scooped up by a team to be their starting quarterback in 2021, but nonetheless, an awesome story. Still wants to play and still good enough to be at least come back in an emergency role and get the job done. Excuse me. So we'll see his future, but it looks like Washington football team will, again, depart with Alex Smith. They will go in a new direction for their quarterback position in 2021. Whether it's Taylor Heineke, they gave a little extension to this offseason, whether it's making a big trade, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, who's not on their list, but maybe they can make a pitch to get him, get their team on the list of teams that Russell Wilson would accept a trade to. We'll see. The lot of options there. It's a great defense. I like Terry McLaurin. I like Antonio Gibson. Some pieces there on offense as well, but obviously, as we know, tremendous defense, especially that front seven. Ron Rivera did an incredible job coming in, turning that organization around. It was a cesspool. Still was in some capacity with Dan Snyder still running the team. Still a little bit lack of trust there for me personally, and I think a lot of people around the league, a lot of fans around the league, just because with Dan Snyder at the helm. Tough to trust that their organization will do everything the right way. Still been some hiccups and bumps along the road, but definitely what Ron Rivera has done, at least transforming the team, has been tremendous so far. So hats off to them, kudos to them, and they will now at least will have an opening. Could be another destination for Deshaun Watson, for Russell Wilson, for maybe another quarterback that we don't see getting cut loose. Maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, if the 49ers make a move for either quarterback, maybe he gets cut loose or traded or cut. We'll see. Be a very interesting quarterback carousel that takes another turn yet again here with the news by, again, Ian Rappaport, Kim Jones, that the Washington football team expected to part ways with Alex Smith heading into 2021. So I do want to transition here to some basketball. And I do, again, I will sit here, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything. I'm not going to pretend like I'm right about everything, because most of the time I am wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things. I'm wrong about most things. One of those things so far that I want to give credit to that has proved me wrong have been the Brooklyn Nets. Because one thing I did not envision happening, one thing I did not see coming, I didn't really see them gelling and coming together really at all, to be completely honest. I really thought those three styles of play were not conducive to working together. I really didn't think Kevin Durant, who it's his team, he's the unquestioned leader. Really, there's no doubt about him. But I had my concerns that Kyrie Irving would see himself as a guy who had to take a step back, who had to share the role with James Harden. And basically, in some situations, I mean, he is easily the third best player of the three, right? Kevin Durant, James Harden, then it's Kyrie Irving. I don't see Kyrie as a guy that would recognize that, though. I question whether he would be able to take a step back and sacrifice for the three to work. And honestly, I didn't see James Harden as a guy that would come in there and sacrifice the way he has so far to make the trio work. And he has. I'll give him a lot of credit because they have gelled way quicker than I could have expected, than I could have imagined. And the Nets so far are humming in an impressive way. Now, they only played 7 games together, which is, both really more concerning than anything else, but different reasons why for that. But I will give James Harden a lot of credit because he really has been the biggest reason why this trio has worked. Because he wanted to go to Brooklyn, right? Wanted to be there, wanted to get a ring, wanted to play with KD, wanted to play with Kyrie. Again, when you look at his stats, when you look at his style of play since he's gotten to Houston, he has been not only the main star, he has also not played well with others. They traded for Dwight Howard, really the first big trade when James Harden was down there in Houston to try to tag him up with another great player. That didn't work. James Harden wanted Dwight Howard there. The two couldn't figure out how to get along on the court. Boom, Dwight Howard out. Then they bring in Chris Paul. Okay, here's a point guard. Try to, set James Harden up, maybe take some pressure off his shoulders, lighten the load, if you will, a little bit. And that worked in terms of on-court success, right? They were, up 3-2 against the Warriors before collapsing that away, and Chris Paul got hurt. But they made it to, the conference finals one year. They had success there. Again, they're up 3-2, 1 game away from the finals before that happened. But as you know, off the court, the two couldn't stand each other. Friends before they got, the friends before teammates. James recruited Chris Paul. He wanted him to come to Houston. Chris Paul wanted to go to the Rockets, wanted to play with James Harden. Then they get there, they realize, you know what? We aren't team. Like we don't get along, or we don't coexist well as teammates. That relationship turned contentious. 2 years, boom, Chris Paul out of Houston. Let's bring in another friend, Russell Wilson, Russell Westbrook. He comes in 1 year, have some success. Obviously, as we know, the pandemic kind of halts the season midway through the year, just as they were kind of getting their footing together, just as they were kind of getting some cohesion built on the court. Boom. Pandemic happens. Russell Westbrook frustrated with the way things are in Houston, a very lax environment, very hands-off, very nonchalant. James Harden really not a vocal leader, not an in-your-face kind of guy. Skirted a lot of the rules that were set in place. Just kind of did what he ever wanted to do. Russell Westbrook didn't like that. Boom, he demanded trade. He's out. So 3 different scenarios where a player was brought in to play with James Harden. 3 different times the player left without winning a title and left basically, angry, frustrated at the situation. So there's a track record that showed James Harden does not play well with others. He does not, for whatever reason, acquiesce, play well, have a style that's conducive to sharing the basketball, sharing the spotlight, sharing the limelight, and being a team first guy instead of a me first guy. But he has gone to Brooklyn. Shocked me. Because he has accepted his role quickly as a guy who's going to be the point guard, but he's going to be the point guard, not a score-first point guard, because that's what he was in Houston, a pass-first point guard. He's accepted the role of being a tertiary scorer, not the main scorer, not a secondary option. He's the third option on most nights in terms of scoring buckets. And I'll be honest, I did not see that coming. So like I mentioned, it's only been 7 games. The sample size has been extremely, extremely small. But to the Nets' credit, to James Harden's credit, they have accepted what each role is going to be, and so far it's worked out well for them. They're 5-2 in those 7 games. But here's what's most mind-blowing, which I did not see coming. I give James Harden a lot of credit, give the Nets a lot of credit for figuring this out so quickly. So again, very small sample size. It's only been 7 games. Within those 7 games that Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden have been on the floor together, Harden is averaging just 12.4 field goals attempted per game. Well, that 12.4 average is the lowest average of field goals attempted per game since 2011, 2012 for James Harden. A decade ago, essentially. He's averaging 20.4 points per game in those 7 games that all 3 have been healthy on the court. Also his lowest since 2011-2012 season. And he's averaging 12.5 assists per game in those 7 games, which is the highest assists per game of his career. So he's assimilated. He's worked well together. He's played well with Kyrie and KD quicker than I ever could have imagined because he has put the team first instead of himself first. And I'll be honest, I had my severe doubts that would be the case. Never would have thought that would happen, especially happening so quickly. Like I mentioned, those 3, especially in terms of leadership-wise, none of those guys really have the leadership qualities or capabilities, in my mind, that could handle 3 loud, selfish at times personalities. So there was no LeBron James like the Heat had. There was no Steph Curry like the Warriors had. No Kevin Garnett as the Celtics had. And those big three we've seen in the last decade or so that have had success, that have won titles. That leadership is an important part, arguably the most important part, even more than the talent, that have led those 3 super teams, if you will, to have success and win titles. I did not see that happening. I did not see that really even coming about in Brooklyn. But James Harden has checked his ego at the door and a selfless player, and now as a pass-first point guard, has set up KD to run the offense efficiently, has given Kyrie some great looks, and he is scoring. And I am frankly shocked that Harden so far has accepted this role of shooting the least he's ever shot in his career since 2011-2012, scoring the least he has in a decade, and dishing out the most assists that he has of his entire career. You give him a lot of credit. I've been so far, very wrong about those 3 and how they've coexisted and coalesced so far in Brooklyn. With that said, the reason why I'm totally not still ready to jump on board for the Nets, ready to not get on their bandwagon of title or bust, they're going to win the East, they're going to go to the finals, they're going to win the finals. Because for me, still, the big question and what I'm really excited to see next is how these 3 act in playoff pressure situations. Because again, let's also look at what it is, right? They're 5-2 in the 7 games they've played. They are rolling right now, even with Kevin Durant out. They are still playing some great basketball. James Harden at nights when both Kyrie and KD's out has taken over. They've had incredible comebacks against the Suns, down 24 points. They win the game. They swept a West Coast trip where they beat the Lakers. They beat the Suns. They beat the Clippers. They've had some great performances. They had some great teams already so far. But with that said, it's easy to kind of have everything go well in the regular season built off that. It's easy when things are rolling to, no big deal. I'm going to pass first. We're winning, so I'm going to do what helps winning. So that means giving 12 assists per game to Kyrie. I'm going to do that. That means being the 3rd scorer. I'm going to do that. But I'm interested to see what I still have my doubts about is that when the going gets tough, when we get to the playoffs now, and maybe KD is struggling, or Kyrie is shooting 3 of 14, but still shooting the ball, are those 3 going to be able to work it out where they can kind of fix it on the fly in a pressure-packed situation that is the playoffs? I'm still not sold on, because again, the leadership still, that's where the leadership comes in most important. When things are going not well, when there's some questions, where there's some doubts, where the ship could easily, start to sink, if you will, if it's not fixed quickly, I still have my doubts that they will be able to fix the problem. Get on the same page, put their egos aside, and work well for what's best for the team. Again, as we know, and I hate that I'm about to use this expression because it's so corny. And I feel like only the people who say this are the ones that truly don't get it done in the big situation, but want to say it because they want to act like they know how to get it done in the postseason. But I'm going to say this, and it's true. Pressure makes diamonds. I hate saying that because, again, I feel like in my life and in my experiences, the only one who say that are the ones who can't get it done in the big spot, but they want to at least make it seem like, oh, yeah, I'm cool in the playoffs. I like playing in the big game. But it's true. That pressure that faces teams in the playoffs can either make you or break you. And right now, I'm still not sold that when the pressure is coming down on the Nets, if they're down 2-1 or 3-2 in the playoffs, that they will be able to figure it out in a way to make a comeback and win. That's just how I feel. My doubts, maybe I'll be proven wrong, just like I've been proven wrong so far with James Harden really checking his ego at the door and being a team first guy, something I never thought that would happen. Maybe I'm wrong. But at least to me, that is still the one doubt, the one pause I have in jumping on the Nets bandwagon is that, sure, it's easy to be kind of all hunky-dory in the regular season. It's easy to kind of feel good and keep rolling with the good vibes, if you will. It's easy to be a team-first guy in the regular season when you're winning games. But now when it's crunch time, when you have to make a shot, when everyone is watching, can you do it? And I still have my doubts that I'll be able to get done. So we'll see. It'll be a very interesting stretch here as we start to near the halfway point of the season. Also break next week. Again, for the Nets, with the way they're playing, the next meaningful game for them will be the playoffs. Will be the first game of the opening round. So it's tough for them to really, have any big time games. If you will, even to play the Lakers or the Clippers on, a Sunday night or a Saturday night showcase like they did against the Mavericks this past Saturday. There's no big game for them. They're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be one of the best seeds. We all know for them it's just going to be what can they do in the playoffs? And that is where my big question comes in. So I'm curious your thoughts. Are you buying into the Nets at all? It's only been 7 games. So I understand the sample size is very, very small. But what we've seen has been very impressive. Are you ready to jump on board? Are you ready to buy into the Nets as finals contenders, as the team to beat in the East? Maybe as the team to beat in the NBA? Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Add Ryan Hickey Show if you want to comment on the live stream on Periscope, the live stream on Facebook, or tweet me directly your thoughts. We'll get those right on the air. When we come back, finish off the show. Could a schedule change be coming in the NFL? We'll tell you the latest. Next is the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Edward Lehman has been a trusted insurance advisor for over 16 years with insurance solutions for auto, home, commercial, life, and retirement. He's located at 54 Sunnyside Boulevard, Suite H in Plainview. That's just 1,000 feet south of 495. Local agent, local advice. The time to think about insurance is before you need it. So do yourself a favor, and before you pay your next insurance bill, give Ed and his team a call, 516-935-3900, or visit him online at www.allstate.com/EL. Edward H. Lehman Insurance is your trusted insurance advisor.
Be fearless at MMA Long Island and Seituha Karate. Located at 28 Colt Court in Ronkonkoma, MMA Long Island is the martial arts school for you if you want to learn combat-proven techniques, build confidence, discipline, and self-esteem while learning real martial arts to fight back against bullies, predators, and peer pressure. MMA Long Island offers group and private lessons for all ages and levels in traditional Goju-Ryu Karate, MMA, and self-defense. MMA Long Island is one of Long Island's most affordable martial arts schools. There are no promotion, belt, or membership fees, and family discounts are available. All classes are taught by 7th degree black belt Sensei John Benedict with over 30 years teaching experience. So whether you want to get in the ring or protect yourself and your family, MMA Long Island can help you reach your goals. Visit MMALongIsland.com. That's MMALongIsland.com, or call or text 516-381-9660. That's 516-381-9660.
Of course my kid's in the right car seat. Well, I think he is.
Yeah, my kid's in a booster seat. He was ready to move up. He is ready, right?
Her car seat looks like the right size.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear facing, forward facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat.
I know my child's in the right car seat, or else I wouldn't get in the driver's seat.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. Welcome back to the Ryan Hickey Show, right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
And we are back here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, wrapping up shop on a Monday morning, the first day of March. Thankfully, seems like winter is on the way out, spring is on the way in, and we are slowly inching our way, at least in my mind, to the greatest season of the year, which is summer. Very, very, very excited. Let's get the sunshine in. Let's get the warm weather in here. Get beach weather back. Can't wait. Can't wait. At least the calendar helps us get a little closer. So hopefully, as we wrap up here on a Monday, as we get into the new month, hopefully you can stay up to date with everything going on here at the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. We have a ton of great shows that continue to get added on a daily and weekly basis. And the way you keep up with that, the way you can stay up to date with Down to the Wire, hosted by the great Errol Marks, as you hear on this show frequently, as you hear also his show, Below the Mic on Wednesdays. You can listen to Caged In MMA. You can listen to the Sports Hit List. Like I said, my guy Clarence Nixon commented on Facebook. He hosts that every Wednesday at 4. Weapons Hot, my guy CJ DeSimone, who you see either here on the show or you see comments on the live stream here. His comments a lot. He gives a lot of feedback on the show. He hosts his show, a Jets podcast, every Jets show, I should say, every Sunday at 7. Off the Mat for you wrestling fans, Saturday at noon. Falco Takeaway, Tuesdays and Fridays. We have fantasy football shows still to this day. Daily fantasy challenges on Saturday nights. Sports betting shows, which now, as we know, more and more states will legalize gambling. Legalizing sports betting. More people are doing it. So why not, if you're going to do it, be educated. Sports Weekly Betting every Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern. The B Show, Thursdays at 5 o'clock. Smoke and Mirrors, a brand new show hosted by my dad, Declan Krogman, starting today. Today, March 1st. Like I said, new month, new shows. Smoke and Mirrors, Greg, Declan, Stefan. Look out for those guys starting today. And the way you do that is simple. It's easy. You like us on Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. You download the app, WWSRN for iOS, Worldwide Sports Network for Android. You like us on Twitter at WWSRN_radio. You like us on Twitch, WWSRN_radio. You like us on YouTube, Worldwide Sports Network. So that's it. Nice and simple. Facebook, YouTube, Worldwide Sports Network, Twitch, Twitter, WWSRN_radio, and our app. Easiest place to find all our articles, shows, content. WWSRN on iOS, Worldwide Sports Radio Network on Android. That's it. Very simple. So you want to stay up to date with what's going on. If you want to check out the other great shows we have, a lot better than mine, that's for sure. So if you don't think this show is great, great news. A lot of other options that are a lot better than this one. Download the app, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. That way you will stay up to date with everything that goes on here at the Worldwide Sports Network. Like I said, always growing, always getting better. Don't want you to miss out as well. So do what I said. We did talk a lot of football today. If you want to get in before we get out of here at 11 a.m. Eastern, Facebook, Worldwide Sports Network. You can comment on the live stream. Twitter, WWSRN_radio. Comment on the Periscope live feed before we do get on out of here. Do want to at least bring up a scheduling note here for the NFL. Changes are coming. Peter King writes a great weekly column every single week for NBC Sports. And this week, the lead for him was the potential new schedule coming out for the NFL, 17 games. Now, if you remember, back with the new CBA that was agreed upon between the players and the owners, it allowed the owners to implement a 17-game season. Now, it didn't say when. So it didn't say 2020, 2021, 2022. It just gave the option that if the owners want to expand the regular season by one game, they had the option, they had the approval already to do so. They didn't have to go back and ask for it. That was part of the deal. So it wasn't implemented last year. Now Peter King is reporting that a 17-game schedule is highly, highly likely for 2021. So the regular season is about to expand one game next year. And how they're going to do it, AFC, NFC crossover, matching teams based on their record, which to me, that's part of the reason why the NFL is so great. You pit teams against each other with like records from 2020. So on the schedule, he highlights some of the best games already that, assuming this is put through, how it's going to work. We have on schedule, assuming the 17 games gets implemented. Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers. MVP of 2020, MVP of 2018. That is the best rivalry game that could happen in 2021. Also, Tampa, New England, also on the schedule for 2021. Some great games here. And I'll be honest here, I am a little torn when it comes to adding extra games for the regular season. We talked about this last year, actually, this time last year, when it was first being talked about, when the CBA negotiations were going on. And honestly, even before we got to the pandemic. And that was this. I was concerned about an extra game being added on because, as we know, the NFL is a total grind, right? Really, the Super Bowl winner, for the most part, is a battle of attrition. As you saw, right, the Chiefs are missing their 2 tackles in the offensive line. The offensive line didn't have a chance. Patrick Mahomes didn't have a chance all game. Tampa Bay was getting after him. But Tampa was very healthy. They're getting guys back from injury as the Chiefs were losing guys. So as we see, the 16-game schedule is a grind. With the new playoff format with 7 teams added in each league, only one team got a bye, and that happened to be the Chiefs in this case, and also the Packers in the NFC. So now you're adding an extra game for 2021, most likely, is what Peter King is reporting. No extra bye week is being added. So you're going to have 17 games, 1 bye week. My concern, to be honest, and also you're going to have preseason games. Don't forget that. I do get a little concerned that maybe we're starting to enter a territory where the playoffs aren't going to be as great. The playoffs are going to be sacrificed, if you will, because now, obviously, you run the risk of more players getting, injury prone, susceptible to injury. Now you run the risk of some better / great players missing the playoffs because of this extra game, 50 collisions, 60 collisions on each side of the ball. So, listen to the show. I love the NFL. Football is king for a reason. We want more of it. The NFL is trying to give us more. I'm not saying no. I will say I am a little toy. I do have to think about it more if I do think this would be a good idea, if I do like this or not. Just because, like I said, more football is great. An extra week of football, obviously now the Super Bowl gets pushed back 1 week. So instead of having the Super Bowl February 4th like it was this year, next year it's going to be February 13th. So that obviously adds another week of football. It adds, it cuts down on the dead time in February, which we said this last week selfishly. February is the worst sports month by far. So now you add an extra week into February. Now all of a sudden, you cut February in half, if you will. It goes from 3.5 weeks of the worst month of the year sports-wise to, 2 weeks. Even a week and a half, depending on, how much Super Bowl run you get after the game. So you should be, okay with that. Sure, anything to, just give us more content. I do struggle with the idea, to be honest, of more games, again, leading to more injury and the playoffs being watered down. Because let's be honest, the playoffs this year, in my mind, were awesome. Colts, Bills, wild card, great game. Browns, Steelers, great game. Ravens, Titans, great game. Bucks, Packers, NFC division championship game, great game. You can go on and on and on. But just the fun and incredible matchups we had throughout the playoffs this year. I thought, honestly, the playoffs, not to be person of the moment, were overall, collectively, some of the best group of games we've had in a while. I do think adding extra games, and look, it's 17 now. It's going to get to 18. Don't fool yourself. We are eventually, maybe sooner rather than later, maybe in a decade from now, we'll have an 18-game regular season. Don't think it's stopping at 17. It probably will stop at 18, but it's getting to 18. So I do wonder, especially, again, not that many guys are playing the preseason, but just extra opportunities to get injured. I'm still a little torn if I think that's a good idea or not, but it definitely will be interesting. It definitely will be something to watch. But as Peter King's reporting, highly likely for 2021, we'll have a 17-game regular season. Some of the best games to come out of that extra game: Chiefs, Packers, Buccaneers, Patriots in New England. That'd be very interesting, very fun to see that reaction. So it will be, next year's schedule is going to be great, going to be a lot of fun. But we'll see, see how that goes in the long term, if it actually ends up hurting the sport more than it does helping the sport. So that's going to do it, at least for this edition of the Ryan Hickey Show right here on the Worldwide Sports Network. Appreciate you starting your week with us. Hopefully made your Monday a little more exciting, a little bit more brighter, a little bit more entertaining. Congratulations. You've all, I know it's officially or unofficially, I guess not spring yet, but it's spring in my mind. March 1st, we have made it out of the doldrums of wintertime, and we are cruising our way to spring and hopefully getting some nice weather better quicker. So, again, appreciate you starting your week with us. We'll be back here on Thursday, as we are on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So stay safe. Stay safe. We'll talk to you again on Thursday right here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.